Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Now, recently, I was asked in one of the comment sections to do a review of the M1A1 main battle tank. Now, I gotta say, based on where warfare is heading, will tanks even be relevant? Will we use tanks in the not too distant future? Well, the short answer is yes. They will absolutely be used. Now, I think what will ultimately have to occur is that systems and technology will need to be destroyed before we see tanks, main battle tanks, take a dominant place on the battlefield again. What do I mean by that? Well, I believe the place that we are heading, and you can see here I have the air vehicle from the Terminator, right? This is one of these aerial hunter-killers that roam around the battlefield hunting down humans for Skynet, right? The artificial intelligence that went to war against humanity. Now look, whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence is going to be a major component on the battlefield. It already is, right? And very soon we are going to see artificial intelligence taking over in the pilot seat of aircraft. I mean, look, human pilots are susceptible to G-forces, and artificial intelligence is not. It doesn't care. And a AI operating against a human opponent will, I mean, if we're looking at strictly dogfighting, right? But we're kind of going beyond that into the realm of artificial intelligent directed munitions, air-to-air munitions. I mean, things are going to are going to change to a point where the nation state that controls space and has a leg up on artificial intelligence and can control its airspace, meaning an adversarial nation state cannot direct weapon systems upon factories and strategic points of interests within that nation state is going to be unstoppable. And again, those three components, right? Space, AI, and the ability to defend one's airspace, right? To have the ability to continue to put up satellites and control space, because you're going to need to control your airspace to thus control space. Now, once that happens, once a nation state controls those three domains, space, AI, in the direct environs of the airspace around said nation state, that country is going to be unstoppable. So then the question is, how would an adversarial nation state defeat that nation state that controls those domains? Space, AI, and the spatial environs of that nation state. How do you do that? Well, you can't. Not conventionally. You will not be able to defeat that nation state. If you're going against that nation state, you're going to be essentially a victim. they're militarily, conventionally, they're going to defeat you. They're going to destroy you. They're going to clean your clock. And there's very little that you're going to be able to do other than asymmetrical or unconventional, right? So if you have a country, let's say the United States or China, I mean, either or, that gets a leg up that they control space, they control AI, they control the aerospace environments of the continental United States or China. What next? What do you do? Well, if it comes down to a real war, a total war scenario where hypothetically, let's say certain aspects of the East, maybe Russia, maybe allied nation states with Russia, be it Iran, North Korea, maybe China, maybe a unification between Russia, China, who knows, right? I mean, it could be reversed. I don't think, just from a technological point of view, right now, it's very difficult to compete with the United States given its position of controlling space right now. Now, could that change? Could we see things happen? Maybe, possibly. But if we end up in the realm of where I think that we are ultimately heading, where you will see a much more technologically advanced nation state controlling space, controlling AI, controlling the near environs of the aerospace around whatever nation state that is, in order for an opposing nation state that is at war, they're going to have to utilize unconventional capability if they don't want to be completely militarily defeated. What does that look like? Well, it's going to mean the use of two things or both. It's going to take the form of either a biological attack with an enhanced biological weapon that was created in a lab by a fairly advanced nation state that's only recourse to fight the opposing country that controls space, that controls AI, and its near aerospace environs, would be, again, a biological attack, a biological weapon system, or the use of nuclear weapons to degrade and destroy the ability of one nation state to control space. I really believe that is going to be the only option in the not too distant future once you see a nation state kind of win that arms race, the space, the AI arms race, especially. And again, the only option will be to destroy the global positioning satellites, the low Earth constellations that provide technologies such as Star Force, aka Starlink, things like that, other systems that aren't open source that exist in space. And if one nation state has a monopoly on technology, AI, and space, there's not much the opposing nation state is going to be able to do against that nation state other than those two options. Either A, an unconventional biological attack or B, a unconventional nuclear strike against space capability. Once you eliminate space capability, the playing field is a little bit more level, right? Certain technologies, certain weapon systems will be more difficult to utilize. The ability to sense and create a kill chain based on sensory systems in space will be more difficult to utilize. Now, that doesn't change the fact that you can still have systems that operate through AI and aerospace systems that can operate without the use of GPS through the use of AI systems, right? That will exist, but once we go down that rabbit hole, where let's say China or the Russian Federation, or who knows who else, starts to deploy nuclear weapons against space targets and starts to deploy ground-based systems trying to target space-based systems, to destroy space-based systems such as GPS and even civilian dual-use systems that are floating around up in space, either high Earth or low Earth orbit. That is when you will see the main battle tank return to the battlefield in a more effective use than it's being utilized now. You will essentially have to create a de-evolution of technology, and that will be caused by the use of nuclear weapons or a biological weapon system. I have to wonder, based on what has happened with Iran. I know Iran right now is attempting to control the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that's its only card right now, is that. But look, when you target the entire leadership infrastructure of a nation state that has a definite biological capability, you have to wonder, what could they be planning? Look, think about it. What would happen if the United States was struck conventionally and the entire leadership, the Congress, the Senate, the executive branch, was essentially wiped out, right? Would you think the United States would stop fighting? Probably not, right? And then the question is what happens then? The civilian leadership has stopped controlling the military, and elements of the military are now acting with their own devices. Where does that go, right? Same with Iran. You have to ask that question. Is there a group of biological weapons scientists somewhere buried in a mountain in Iran asking themselves, you know what? There are no other options. Let's create a bioweapon system that is unlike anything the planet has ever seen. Yeah, if it spreads and wipes out 2/3 of the human race, WTF? Oh well. Shit happens. And again, same process in terms of hypothetical conflict with China or Russia, right? The United States gains a significant edge in space and AI, and right now that's happening. The United States is taking a major leap, especially in space right now, controlling of space. And I have to assume that, based on what I know, that the United States is also leading in the AI arms race as well, just to some extent. So then what? Again, then what happens, right? What does an adversary to the United States do at a certain point where it knows it cannot compete, quote unquote, conventionally in space and AI? What does it do? Well, it has to take down space. Electromagnetic pulse weapons can also damage non-hardened AI infrastructure as well. That's how you do that. Again, you're leveling the playing field. Now, does this mean that nuclear bombs are exploding in cities? Maybe not, right? But they're definitely exploding in space. They are creating an environment where electromagnetic pulses are leveling the playing field. And that will be the only option at a certain point. Once a nation state or a group of nation states, allied nation states, kind of cross into that realm where they have complete military supremacy based on technology, based on, again, control of space and AI. Again, this is something that we have not yet experienced, and we are getting ready to experience that. And then the question is, what will be the answer? And the answer is going to be utilizing unconventional technologies to reestablish a level playing field. Then you will see the return of the main battle tank. And I picked the South Korean Black Panther just because. Is it comparable to an M1A2 Abrams? Yes, I mean it has some incredible technologies on this tank. Will all these technologies be able to be used in an environment where systems are being destroyed that level the playing field? Maybe, maybe not. Some systems they'll be able to use. Other systems that are used on this vehicle may not be able to use. I think because of what would happen to the global economy and the nullification of the use of space and space-based systems, that we will revert back to tank technology that existed before the tank that you see here. We may not go back to fighting with swords and stones and arrows, but we could go back at a certain point, depending on how this war takes shape and how many nuclear weapons are used and biological weapons, if they are used, and these systems that would target AI and infrastructure capability, right? How would that shape the battlefield of the future? Well, we don't really know yet. And just like we don't know where these new technologies, these AI and space-based technologies are going to take us, right? I mean, they're definitely taking us someplace. Is it here? I think to some extent, but I don't think we've really seen what war in 20 years in the future will actually look like. But I do know that the adversary that is under the foot of the nation state that has this technology, they will use unconventional processes. They will use unconventional weapon systems to reestablish a level playing field, or even tilt the playing field somehow. What does that look like? Yeah, it will be nuclear. I firmly believe it will. And it quite possibly will be will be biological. Right? Biological is going to be the elephant in the room that is here, and we don't see it yet. We don't see it, but it's here, and you're going to hear about it. Have a good day.